And we're live.
Hello, the meeting has commenced. I am the G Money, the gavel.
Uh, I am the department chair.
And I am the cabinet.
Up there it was. You got to hit that a few more times. I expect at least three
Three
times.
times?
3 times. Bam, bam, bam.
Three times.
That
I
was
Let's
that
can't
was
do
a
the
believe.
cumulative 3.
Yeah.
let's do the
Okay.
three, and then when we adjourn, let's do one good one.
Okay. Okay. A cumulative three, just like the Biden administration said, $2,000 the instant that the senators were put
That,
in.
that that's right. Look,
Right?
600
No.
plus
No.
1400 is 2000, and it's far too much in my opinion.
No. He promised
That is
two
far too
thousand.
much.
Yeah. He promised
Any
two
any amount of
thousand.
government spending is wrong.
Yeah. I know. He made a promise. He made a promise, though. I'm gonna hold him to that.
Right.
Anyway, we now have a gavel, one that I'm pretty sure that the gavel will probably use to murder someone at some point in the future. It's heavy enough.
That's right.
Um, but in the last week, we've had a lot of things going on. I have a small list here I'm going to try to follow into. But before we get into our first article, first off, something interesting. Gina Carano, the I guess you could say now famous lady of the Mandalorian, has been fired from her position due to cancel culture. There's some stuff going on there in Hollywood. I mean, that's been going on since
That cancel culture thing.
culture. The 1940s, 1950s, that's been happening for some time, but now it's to the extreme. Something that happened in the last 2 days here. White House Deputy Press Aide P.J. Ducklow is forced to resign after initially only going to be taking a 5-day furlough. He apparently said to a not a fellow staffer, but a fellow reporter that he would, quote, destroy her and her career. So, yeah, I will applaud Biden on getting rid of that individual. To saying that
That
you're going to
sounds
get.
serious.
Yeah. Chair, you've gotten quite quiet, but I guess speak up if you can
Oh,
manage.
no. Okay.
That
So,
helps.
oh no, didn't get in quiet here. I'm definitely gonna have to
There
fix
we
my
go.
setup. All right, with the last few things here before we get in our first article, New York Governor Cuomo in a
Mm.
huge nursing home scandal. Apparently, a staff member has come forward saying that he was placing COVID positive seniors and other even younger individuals in nursing homes within the first few months of the COVID pandemic. Which
Okay,
was
something bound was going to come out of that anyway. We knew something was going on.
right. Right now, they're only the last report was 7,000 dead inside nursing homes
Wow.
in New York. However, the FBI is investigating, and they're saying that they believe the number is far, far higher. And Cuomo's administration is refusing to release numbers. That, however, we're going to do next week because, as the cabinet has mentioned, that thing is going to blow up. And the last two things before we get into our first article here, the Democrats in the House are pushing to put $15 minimum wage in the next COVID bill. Will it
Mm.
happen? I don't know. The senators on the Democratic side and obviously the Republicans are saying no. But beyond all that, Trump yesterday was acquitted. Huge surprise. 57-43. And again, that is no big surprise. But I think that is the first article we're going to go into.
Well, you want to go into the acquitting, right?
Yes,
Yep.
we're going to go
All
right
right.
into
Let me
that
pull that up so you guys should be able to see it.
Here we go.
one.
Well,
All
before
right.
the acquittal, before Trump was acquitted, so yesterday morning, his defense attorney was uh, trying to send out for witnesses for Trump's trial, and however, because of his pronunciation of Philadelphia, we had the Senate laughing at him. So his defense attorney, well, who got to last laugh now because he's been, acquitted. You know,
Yeah, I mean, him getting acquitted is a big deal, but I can't help but think that there is some 4D chess going on here in that I'm trying to decide, and maybe, Cabinet, I'm curious what your thoughts on this. The Democrats, this is a win-win, though, for the Democrats. Yeah, Trump could come back, but that is going to cause a lot of chaos inside the Republican Party, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that the events of um, was it January 6th?
Hmm.
I think the events of January 6th uh, themselves are tearing a rift inside the Republican Party. I'm not sure that the Democrat response to it was paid much mind. I think that everybody knew from the beginning that this would be the course of the Senate trial. The Senate gets to choose its own terms, and the only thing constitutionally that matters is the vote. They vote for impeachment, yes or no. That's it. That's the end. They can have a circus beforehand if they want, and they did. That has no legal bearing.
No, it doesn't. But it's
It always
I
had
mean,
political bearing, right?
yeah. I mean, they're trying to weaponize the six and say that this was obviously Trump's doing when the vast. Well, I can't say the vast majority of people. There's obviously even some of our colleagues believe that no, that they were to some degree incited by Trump, and I guess I can understand that, but I draw the line at you're the one that decides to physically go in the building. You're the one who decides to break the glass to get into the Capitol building. That's your
Correct.
responsibility, nobody else.
And this is what they had to prove, and they did prove that. I mean, he wasn't the one who said, "Hey guys, go into the Capitol building on January 6th and cause a ruckus." Like, it wasn't
He said,
that
go
way.
down and make your voices heard.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to march down Pennsylvania Avenue. How many leaders have said that?
Exactly.
Right. So this has been. I mean, look. This is the right wing point of view on it. The left point of view, the CNN point of view, the MSNBC point of view, is going to be Trump's actions and words were criminal.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's an irreconcilable sort of view of reality. I don't see that anybody who believes that can be convinced otherwise.
Right.
So that is one of the biggest rifts between typically more conservative, more leaning or liberal leaning individuals is, you take your own actions, at least from the conservative point of view, you are responsible for your own actions and you make your own choices, regardless of a higher body. I don't even say the government's a higher body, but a body above you. Whereas at least more liberal leaning, you're just like, oh, well, the government can have more control. We desire that to some degree, unless you're, the far left leaning point of view, maybe some of the hippies. I don't know. So,
okay. I don't have too much more to say about the impeachment process. I think it's self-evident what it is to anybody looking closely, and even I'll be the first to call out when the Republicans are playing similar games, and just grandstanding. But that's what this was, and it's pretty much par for the course in Washington. Both sides do it.
Yeah, it's so Donald Trump still does have the ability to run now for president again in 2024. I'm sure the GOP is going to steer as far away from him as possible, at least with as much money as they can. But they're still poking around of people saying, "Oh, there's going to be a third party. There's going to be a third party involved, and Trump has the money to run it."
Well, the GOP is in trouble because they're gonna find that their big money and their established power structures want nothing to do with Trump, but all those new Latino voters and all those new black voters and all those new working class voters, they don't want those to go away. They can't imagine winning an election without them at this point.
Yeah.
So those people liked Trump.
Right. There was and again using Tim Pool, watching a video of Tim Pool about 2 weeks ago. There was a gentleman who is apparently an expert in Latin America and South America, and that machismo, that Trump has. That's why for some reason there's a lot of dictatorial governments down in those areas, because they want that high masculine power. They desire that, and Trump to some degree, I guess you could say, shows that. Whether it's positive or negative, there's a lot of opinions on that, but there he is. Right. You know what I mean? That's part of Latin culture. I mean, I can say that, being married to a Latina myself. You see that in their society and their families. It's interesting. So we'll have to see.
All right.
All right.
Guess ready to move on to minimum wage?
Oh. Minimum wage. Yes, I'll bring that up.
So I was foaming at the mouth the other day.
Oh, is that a daily occurrence?
Did you tweet it off?
Is that a daily occurrence on a Saturday or a Friday for you? So is it just the fact of the $15 an hour minimum wage when I mentioned it, or was
No,
there
it's the
something?
very idea of a national minimum wage.
Listen,
Okay.
listen. If I am, where's the maximum wage? Okay, because at this point, $15 minimum wage. What about the ones who are making more than $15? Are we going to get? Are we going to get a raise? Like,
No,
No.
right. So
no, the
this,
costs of goods and services will go up for you, and your taxes will go up.
of course, it will. So
All right.
yeah.
So yeah, I saw this article, and again, just I guess it doesn't help that I'm watching House of Cards still. I'm getting into the last season, but seeing all the inner politics of like parties makes me think a little bit. Now, the current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and that was put in 2009. But there's a lot of people that are arguing like, is
That
this
shouldn't
going
have
to
been put in either.
Right.
Yep. So here, I'm going to read this. I'm going to try to steamroll through it. All right, so let's go to that first part.
Highlight it for you.
Is that the
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on Thursday. This is the article you sent me.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because this is not the same. The intro is not the same. That's very strange. I wonder if it was.
I feel like they
edited.
rewrite their articles all the darn time.
Right. Wow.
Possibly.
Let's see.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Go back up. Still House Democrats. Yeah, it's like the whole intro is completely different now.
Interesting.
It's awesome.
Fascinating.
This is why I use Reuters instead of NBC or whatever the hell it is.
I know. I personally love Reuters. Let me see if I can just send you. Oh, okay. Which article is that?
This is the CNBC $15 minimum wage article.
All right. Let me see if I can find the one that I have. Okay. Maybe it's changed or yeah. Okay. Never mind. I'm sending you the new one. Little technical difficulties, but again, we'll adjust through it. No big deal.
We'll keep going. We'll continue to keep going.
Here, I just put it in chat. My apologies. So anyway, I'll start the article while the cabinet is bringing up because this is from the Washington Post.
Okay.
So I'm just going to start reading right off the bat here. Did you
All right.
get
So
what
here
I
we
sent
go.
you?
WAPO. Got it.
There we
CBO
go.
report finds $15 minimum wage would cost jobs but lower poverty levels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How does that? No, that's not how economics works.
Just wait for it. It's gonna.
I'm trying to figure out how that works because this headline doesn't make sense to me. How is it going to lower? Okay, all right. I'm just going to relax.
All right, so I'll start at the top. Raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour would significantly reduce poverty and increase earnings for millions of low-wage workers, while adding to the federal deficit and cutting overall employment, according to a new study from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. The report is sure to animate the already heated debate over whether to include raising the federal minimum wage in legislation to help sputtering economic recovery and aid vaccine distribution.
How are these things connected? How has raising the minimum wage got anything to do with helping the economy recover?
Well, I actually think it would do the opposite. And now, mind you, This is Pelosi. This is coming out of the House, right? So Nancy Pelosi and her cronies in the House are like, we're just going to put this in for that recovery bill for COVID. They want to put it in, and they've already thrown it at the Senate. Now, mind you, to some of the senators, the Democratic senators are like, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. 3 of them have already verbally backed off saying, we don't like this, we don't want it, and we don't want it at all. Now, mind you, the Republicans aren't going to touch it either. But it's interesting that you have 2 parts of the same party that are already arguing. Now, at this point, okay, you want to put in $15 an hour minimum wage. How is that going to help the economy when you're going to put more businesses down, and now those people won't have any jobs whatsoever?
Right.
Well, and plus, like, imagine being a kid getting your first job.
$15 an hour.
You're not going to hire that kid. They're going to hire me instead.
Right. We're just going to print more money to deal with this, right? Those businesses that are going to fail, we'll just print more money, and you're going to essentially buy votes. That's exactly what you were just mentioning. Yeah. You're going to buy these younger votes.
But I mean, the really young people, they're not going to have jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, if my choice, if you hold a gun to the shopkeeper's head and say, you will hire this kid for $15, or not at all, the shopkeeper will say, okay, not at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hire somebody else who's worth $15.
Mm-hmm.
So The White House proposal would raise the minimum wage from its current level of $7.25 to $15, with increases of approximately $1.50 every year for 5 years. On one hand, the CBO estimates that raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025 would cost 1.4 million jobs and increase the national deficit by $54 billion over 10 years. But it also estimated the policy would lift 900,000 people out of poverty and raise income for 17 million people.
Based on what evidence?
This is what the CBO is saying.
Oh, the Congressional Budget Office. They're such a reliable source of information. They're great at predicting things.
I just want to know how they're coming up with this. This is the thing,
Some
okay,
voodoo economics,
we want to
for
lift
sure.
people. We want to lift people out of poverty. That's what we want. However, I mean, raising the wage to $15, I don't think it will do any different than what they have now.
Yeah, in many
federal?
cases it won't, because it's not that much more than most people are being paid anyway.
Right.
In the few cases where it's going to actually affect anything, it's either going to cause a person to be fired because they're not worth that much yet, because they haven't earned those skills,
Right.
to the point where they're worth that much to the business, or it's going to cause the business to say, we can't stay open at this rate. But none of this helps the economy. None of this lifts anybody out of poverty. It's just crazy to me. That's not a
And
free
let's
market.
be honest, $15 an hour, what if you're not even making full time, you're working part time, you're not going to be able to live only off of that $15.
Oh, no.
$15, like, come on.
No, for
know.
sure.
So,
Well, and that's what they're claiming, is that, oh, well, this would help those people who aren't working full time. This will help the little person. But in the process, all right, maybe this would, like, let's say you're going after Amazon or some large company that might be able to pay this. Now,
Amazon,
mind
I
you,
think, is already doing that because they're like super progressive, so they just we're going to pay all our people that much or whatever.
yeah,
Right.
they pay high.
but still, even then, what about maybe the big businesses can do that? But what about
Right.
the pizza shop?
No,
down
no, the
street?
pizza shop
Right.
again. The pizza shop's not going to close because that guy who's 54, who's been running the pizza shop all his life, is going to keep running it. He's just
Right.
not going to hire that 16-year-old to run the pizza.
Right.
And that also, in turn, is then going to hurt the economy. Plus, more than likely, the price of the things you're purchasing from those shops is going to go up too.
Definitely.
So it's ridiculous. Now, mind you, with that,
Well, and if $15, why not 20? Why not 30? Why not
Yeah,
$1 million
right.
an hour? Where does the number
Well,
come from
no.
that you decide this is good and that is bad?
oh god, I don't even want to. It's still just a mess to think about. Anyhow, I wanna
So
keep
minimum
rolling
wage
here.
at all is stupid,
Yeah.
and people can negotiate for themselves.
Thank
And-
you.
That's the way it should be.
Yep.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. So the government is openly admitting that they're going to basically get rid of 1 million jobs, and they're totally okay with this.
1
1.4
million. 1.4. I mean, come on. We're
So-
already in odds with our jobs now. Like, you want us to.
Wait, so even by their numbers, the Congressional Budget Office, it's going to kill 1.5 million jobs, and it's going to create a little under 1 million jobs,
Right.
and they think that's a good thing.
Oh, no,
Because
they're-
they're lifting people out of poverty, Cabinet.
They're not saying they're going to create jobs. They're just going to lift 900,000 people out of poverty.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so presumably improve 900,000 people's
Right.
jobs. I mean, even assuming that magically worked in their unicorn fantasy, which it does not.
See, if
but
this
they're
is the-
bragging about the fact that they've killed 1.4 million jobs.
Now, mind you, this is actually the estimates that are good. Wait till you get to the professor at the end of the article. Wait till
Yeah,
you see
you mean the actual economist?
Oh, right, but wait till you see what he
The
says.
actual experience.
Anyway. So the net pay going to the country's workers would grow substantially by $333 billion, as the increase in pay for workers would more than double the amount subtracted by the workers who lost their jobs, according to the estimate. This is literally redistribution of wealth. That's literally what this is.
I mean, I wish it was that. That would be so much more straightforward. If you want to rob from the rich and give to the poor, I'm against it. But at least, like, you're admitting what you're doing, and it's obvious where the money's coming from and going.
Right.
No, this is no. This is I take $3 from the rich guy. I put $1 in my pocket. I pay the poor guy $1, and I put another $1 in my pocket.
Right.
But it's not even that. Like it's actually the government's not. It puts $1 in its pocket and then it burns $1. Like and not like burning money in terms of deflating the currency. They're actually inflating the currency, but they're destroying wealth.
Yes. Yeah, you're also destroying infrastructure, at least in my opinion.
Right.
All right. So the minimum wage proposal has split more liberal wing of the Democratic Party from the moderates, such as Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia.
I told you Joe Manchin was going to become the bulwark of the Republic.
Who has said that he does not support the proposal. Republicans have pushed back heavily against $15 minimum wage proposal, saying it would kill jobs and hurt small businesses. No surprise. The $7.25 federal minimum wage has not been changed since 2009 and remains below historic levels when adjusted for inflation.
Historic levels. So, I'm sorry, what was it before 2011? Who gets to decide which levels are historically appropriate?
Certain people in power, Chabinet, apparently.
All right, so if it was ever at its peak, that's the level against which it will be measured, right?
Right.
Peak minimum wage against GDP or whatever.
So this works out to just $15,000 a year before taxes on a 40-hour work week.
Could you live on $15,000 a year anywhere in this country at this point?
No, I can't even live off of $20,000 a year.
I sent you guys the thing about the gentrification of like people moving out of the cities into small towns and like bringing their Starbucks with them and everything. Like,
well, I mean, you're also relying on money from the government. Not only did I buy your vote now by raising the wage, but I'm also going to still make sure that you're working sort of for me as the federal government. Because
you created dependency. Well, that's why Pelosi wants this, right?
Of course.
Because now she has your vote forever.
Oh, I mean, my God, I can't. She'll be a skeleton still, and
she already is.
I know, but it's not.
People are liches.
Right now, so. All right. So let's see. Supporters of increasing minimum wage highlighted the CBO's findings about poverty reduction. Quote, today's report makes clear that we've known all along. Raising the minimum wage, which hasn't increased since 2009 to $15 an hour, isn't just the right thing to do, it's good policy. Senator Patty Murray of Washington, chair of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, said in a statement. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the country's most prominent business association, said the report validates its concerns about job loss as a result of raising minimum wage. Quote, we're open to discussion about a fair and reasonable increase in the minimum wage and look forward to working with members of Congress on a standalone bill that could get broad bipartisan support. So literally, don't put this in this current bill. You want to talk with us, let's talk, one-on-one, mind you.
Right.
Shifting it. They don't want to do this. But supporters of a higher minimum wage point to experience of states and cities such as Seattle that have passed their own laws to show the benefits of such policies, and that they have not resulted in drastic levels of unemployment or scheduling reductions. Where are your statistics for this? Where's your information?
Yeah, right. Where are they getting this information?
I know there's a lot of business owners in Seattle that would beg to differ with that statement.
Right? like Seattle is not. I read people. I read some news sources, not even news sources, some entertainment sources out of Seattle, and those guys are very, very liberal and probably would support these policies on paper. But even they're starting to look around and going, "Ooh, this is not the place that I moved to 15 years ago."
Yeah, yeah, and they don't want to.
They don't necessarily connect it with the policies, but.
There was it's interesting because I still look around the stock market, and there's this one company, Pembina Pipeline, that I invested some money into, and they built a huge facility in Jordan Cove, I believe it's up in Washington State, and Washington shut it down for a multitude of BS reasons, and it would have created over 5,000 jobs instantly. And they built it specifically in a lower socioeconomical class area with the idea of like, oh, look, this will produce jobs for all these people in your constituents. It's fantastic. And they shut it down. So they're like, it's oil. No, we don't want to do this.
Yeah. All right. So things are just going swimmingly in Washington State, according to this article.
Oh, God. All right. Quote, it's really not a stretch to say the new consensus has emerged that minimum wage increases do not result in substantial job loss. Heidi Sherholz, director of policy and left-leaning economic policy institute, said a call on Monday.
Okay.
Sherholz
Because
claimed
is this person an economist? No.
apparently
They're
everyone's an
political
economist
hack.
now.
Okay.
I don't see anything indicating that. This says director of policy at the left-leaning. Okay, well.
Sherholz said that CPO's estimates showed that the benefits to low-wage workers outweighs the cost, but she was critical of the calculation of those costs, saying that the CPO had relied on an outdated methodology. Public opinion surveys have found. I can't. What methodology?
The CBO's methodology, in my opinion, has been updated too much since they no longer recognize the basics of supply and demand, and they seem to estimate that the debt won't even be as high as it will be. But anyway, so she thinks that the CBO should conform to modern monetary theory for all of its calculations.
Apparently,
and just Paul Krugman should be the CBO.
So here we're getting to the part that has the actual economist, although you might question that once you read what he's estimating, or maybe not. Public opinion surveys have found that wide support among Americans for raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. The yearly income for wage is $31,000 a year before taxes, an amount that still puts some below the living wage in many parts of the country.
Whatever you calculate a living wage as. Right?
What's the living wage?
There are things that I deny myself that I might have if I, had whatever you thought a living. I mean, it's just crazy. The other thing is, who gets to decide? Yeah, but it's $15 minimum wage. Surveys. Have you been surveyed?
No, I have not.
I haven't been surveyed. And I bet that the question was something like, would you like to be paid more than you are now?
And that was the survey.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
I can't. I mean, yeah, with statistics, or not even statistics, with any sort of polls, I have been fooled, not even fooled, because I already guessed it, when everyone was saying that Trump would lose by upwards of 5%, and it was close, regardless of who knows if there was any sort of things happening. Mm-hmm. I can't believe any sort of poll anymore, ever. I can't. I gotta take a grain of salt, and a huge one at that.
Right.
All right. So here's that economist, Michael Reich, a prominent minimum wage expert at UCal.
Hold on.
Oh, what?
It doesn't say economist.
Oh.
Where?
He's a minimum wage expert, whatever the hell that is.
I mean, like
at the University of California.
I'm gonna go get my degree in minimum wage studies.
Whose work is cited by the CBO? Okay.
That's why I wanted to say
that's not an economist.
To them, though, it is.
He's an expert.
He's an expert in
economy. Good. I can't wait to see what the expert thinks.
And he went to the University of California at Berkeley, so he must be
only good
credible.
things come from Berkeley.
Right.
So this guy's work is cited by the CBO and disputed the report's more pessimistic estimates. Quote, studies have found that wage floors have minimum to low effects on the level of jobs or for inflation, he said on a call with reporters. Minimum wage increases are generally paid for by small price increases, mostly in restaurants, but restaurants have increased sales. When low-wage workers get a wage increase, they put it to good use.
I'm sorry, what causes the restaurant to have increased sales?
That's a superb question. I would love to know how that would hold.
Is he just saying that restaurants presently have increased sales as a result of the other circumstances?
Well, right, play? But that's what he's talking about.
And that's how you're justifying your policy, circumstantially?
Apparently.
You think that they're going to have increased sales forever?
I mean, come on, COVID.
COVID.
Oh, COVID's forever. Oh, good.
I mean,
we got pickup, we got delivery.
COVID. That's forever. Unicorn for everyone forever. At this rate, they want everything forever. But so here's the part. Reich did his own estimates of the minimum wage proposal earlier this month, which found that instead of creating a budget deficit, it would increase federal tax revenue by $65 billion a year.
Okay.
I don't like the CBO's idea to begin with, But this guy's saying, oh no, it wouldn't create a deficit. This would actually make tax revenue.
Okay, first of all, $65 billion a year is a drop in the bucket. They spent, we take in taxes yearly approximately $3 trillion in the United States. 3 trillion with a T. Okay? That makes that, what, 1% or 2% of the total budget for the year?
But
And then the government spends, usually, 4 or 5 trillion a year. Last year, the government spent something more like 12 trillion against its 3 trillion income.
right. This is
So
their
what
idea.
does tax revenue have to do with any conversation about the federal budget?
Didn't you say it'd be $1 into the pocket of the government? I mean, there you go.
Yeah, it's
There's
just.
their
There
one.
you go.
There you go.
But
Oh, look.
he's wrong about this too. Even if he were right, that would be the problem. But he's wrong.
I know.
You're not
That's the
going
best
to get $65 billion a year increased revenue because all of those people are not going to keep their jobs.
Where's the financial advisor? I need to speak to him.
You're assuming that all these people who are presently being paid $7.50 an hour will suddenly be paid $15 an hour, and will file that in their taxes.
Right.
But Cabinet, he is a minimum wage expert or economist.
From
or-
Berkeley.
No, he's not an economist. Nowhere in here did it say he was an economist.
But
Because
but
that's
he is.
actually something
So
that is
what's
one of the
an
few fields in our society
So,
that still has some meaning.
Who's an economist, a person who's an economist, what are their fields of stuff? Like, what makes them an economist? That because
A real economist has is forced to get a bachelor in science, I think, in mathematics and in supply and demand and in concepts like this, right? They have to study statistics rigorously.
right.
They have to study things like the Weimar Republic and the Brazilian inflation. And understand those things before they get to be
Right.
called an economist. Now, they can still be wackos like Paul Krugman, but this guy isn't even that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Gavel, this guy could also be your financial expert if you want him to be that too. I'm sure.
Yeah, I need him to be my financial advisor.
Oh, well, yeah, if he was my financial advisor, everything would look like rainbows and gumdrops.
Right.
Everything's amazing. I will make you money, even though you're spending more of the money. You're going to make money in the end. It's like
Well,
the
that's-
catch-22.
It's a pyramid scheme. Like this guy's going to sell me. This guy's going to sell me a cult. Like,
I don't want that.
Listen, there's some pretty good salesmen out there. Clearly, he might be one of them somehow. Anyway, so
Moving on.
Moving on. This was due largely to the increase in payroll taxes from higher wages and a reduction in the government's spending on safety net programs such as food stamps, Medicaid, and children's health insurance.
they're not going to reduce spending in any of those categories.
of course they're not, which are heavily used by people earning below minimum wage. So they're claiming that by doing this, people are just going to get out of these programs.
That is
What?
not true.
No.
Who's? You know what? This is not.
No way. First of all, yeah, the other assumption that this money will be spent to like put roofs over people's heads and put food on the dinner table. Like, no, this money is going to be spent in large part on cigarettes and lottery tickets.
There we go. Dollar Straight, dollar box.
And it's
Maybe
not
more now.
like it's not a judgment on people who want cigarettes or lottery tickets. I don't use those things, but I have my own vices. That's fine. That's your money. Unless it's a handout, right? So the problem is like, is this a charity, or is it a job?
Right.
And if it's a charity, then you're beholden to spend the money responsibly. If it's a job, you can buy all the cigarettes and lottery tickets you want. It's your money. You earned it.
Right. So now, mind you, this whole thing, this article we just went into, this could just be the Democrats poking at the Republicans because they know this will get to the Senate and the Republicans will shoot it down, and then they'll be like, "Oh, look, those
The
people."
Republicans hate poor people, and they don't want you to have money.
This could be that, right? This could just be that tactic, which is
I don't think it is. I think it's the long game. I
Well,
think
if
they really
that's
want
the
to put this
case-
into effect. Hey, they got their 750 in 2011. Why can't they get 15 now?
Well, if that's the case, then you have, I mean, Joe Biden here, quote,
Look, no one should work 40 hours a week and live below the poverty wage, he said. And if you're making less than $15 an hour, you're living below the poverty wage.
Yeah, but that line's going to keep moving, too, as the government continues to print money irresponsibly.
So basically, there's a little war going on inside the Democratic Party, at least over $15 minimum wage. We'll see where that's going to go. And his press secretary, Jen Psaki, that's the lady that's getting all sorts of hell right now for a lot of other reasons. Quote, the president remains committed to raising the minimum wage. It's something he firmly believes in. Yeah, we'll see when that happens. Hopefully.
Ugh.
So,
all
right.
Done.
Anyway, so, all right. Yeah, I gavel that idea. I don't like it.
Right.
It's gross.
All right. So at this point, I think we're gonna move to our last article.
Yeah, this is a little cultural piece. I mean, it just makes me sad, and I'll explain why it makes me sad at the end. So Gina Carano, the Mandalorian actress who was dropped from the Star Wars spinoff over what the studio called, quote, abhorrent and unacceptable social media posts, said Friday that she will make a film with the conservative company The Daily Wire. Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro's outlet. He just made a movie about somebody fighting back against a school shooting. I haven't seen it yet. I'll let you know what I think when I do. All right, but so I don't have here what she tweeted, right?
I can find it real quick.
Yeah, if you
It was something about the Jewish community, I believe.
Okay. So that's weird because
In Germany,
Shapiro
Nazi Germany.
has been the number one recipient of anti-Semitic attacks in previous years, and he's certainly in the top 5 of anti-Semitic sort of hate being spewed at him. So if he's hiring her, he's sort of saying, like, I don't think she's a Nazi.
Okay, here, I'm sending it to you right now in chat. There it is.
Okay.
Make sure that. Yep, there you go.
All right, let me just grab that real quick because I think
Now-
I think we need context.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to know what she said exactly.
All right, so here's the tweet.
Here we go.
Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Well, I mean, it is both true that Nazi soldiers beat Jews in the street, but
Right.
also true that society was largely involved. So man, this is why I hate Twitter, right? Because it is such a, you can't, it's this
why I
like,
hate social
you get
media.
your 15 characters or whatever the hell it is now. I don't know, 120 characters. Like, this is a complicated idea that she's trying to communicate, and she did not correctly get it across. But I understand what she means because I know the history.
Right.
Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? What?
It's a rhetorical
That's
question.
all she said? I thought it was
That's
like
all.
10 times worse.
Right.
Now,
And I was
mind
still on
you-
her side.
Right.
Not that I agreed with anything she said necessarily, but that I agreed that you should be able to spout stupid things and then still get hired. Dennis Rodman does it all the time.
Thank you.
So, mind you, this was like, I think this is the last straw. She had posted apparently other things about masks. She had posted other things about the election. How she
Okay, so she was a
fraudulent.
conservative. She held conservative views.
Right.
Okay.
But this was it. This was
She
the
was
last
she
straw.
was election skeptical, as I don't know half the country is.
So
Yes.
is this all conservatives should shut their mouths because they want to keep their jobs? Like this doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. So that's the crazy part, and the part that makes me sad is, like, I'm happy for her that Shapiro hired her. He clearly has the money to pay what she's worth. And he can make some good movies. Apparently, he's got a good production crew. He's got a good writer in Andrew Clavin, who
And they're
wrote
only gonna get
Bridges
better, too.
of Madison County, among
Yeah.
other major productions. So, Walt Disney's Lucasfilm Studio said Wednesday it would no longer work with her after she posted on Instagram drawing parallels between the persecution of Jews in Nazi Germany and the treatment of people who hold conservative political ideologies today.
So annoying.
Right? This is a misrepresentation of what she meant. All right. The Daily Wire said Carano will produce and star in an upcoming film exclusively for subscribers
Okay.
to its website. Good for the Daily Wire.
Good.
In a statement on the site, Carano says she was sending a message of hope to everyone living in fear of cancellation by what she called a totalitarian mob. I have only just begun using my voice. I've only just begun. So she's who was it? Was it Patrick
And
Henry?
she only just.
I've only just begun to fight.
Yeah.
Which is now freer than ever before. They can't cancel us even if we don't let them. Carano also came under fire for posts in November where she quote this is Reuters saying that she derided mask wearing amid the COVID pandemic and for promoting baseless claims of voter fraud. Okay. I mean, if she's the only person who had questions about the vote, I'd be surprised. I don't even think I'm not even convinced that there was any kind of election impropriety. Well, I'm convinced there was normal amounts. I'm not convinced there were abnormal amounts of election unfairness, but I think that you should be allowed to say you think there was, and have your claims investigated.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Right.
Quoting sources, The Hollywood Reporter says Lucasfilm had been going to unveil Carano as the star of her own Disney series before they canceled her. A Disney spokesperson did not immediately respond. Shapiro said, "The Daily Wire, we aim to provide an alternative not just for consumers but for creators who refuse to bow to the mob. We're just as eager to show Hollywood that if they want to keep canceling those who think differently, they'll just be helping us build the X-Wing to take down their Death Star." I mean, Shapiro's clever. He's quite witty. Knew what he was doing.
Another thing that could
go
be
ahead.
happening here. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you first, because
Well, the other thing that could be going on here now, I always forget the guy's first name. Favreau, his first name, the director of The Mandalorian.
Jon Favreau. He's brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah,
and they tried to cancel him at one point, I think.
Well, right. And I mean, there is, and I don't know how much you know about this, Gabble, but even inside Lucasfilms, inside Disney right now, there's kind of a war going on for the soul of what Star Wars will be. That,
it's the soul of Disney in general, I think. But I think the Jon Favreaus are losing.
Well, they were winning with The Mandalorian.
Well, yeah. So they're winning in profits, but I think they're losing the office politics.
Well, I don't know. And again, from something else I've been paying attention to, Kathleen Kennedy, who is still currently the runner of Lucasfilms, she was the one who produced the last 3 films.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy is reviled among the fan community.
Right, very, very, very left-leaning, very, very oriented towards feminism. Again, but like to the point of I'm going to force ideas down your throat, whether you accept it or not. Mm-hmm. She refused to listen to the fans when the fans were like, "Oh, we don't like this. Can you redo things?" And apparently she wasn't accepting. She really apparently dislikes what's going on with The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because it's successful and it's fun and it's not cramming social justice down your throat. It's got a few little things, but it's fun first, and it puts its message in the back seat, which is all that I really ask of Hollywood. I don't expect them to tell the message that I would prefer. I know they're not going to be spouting my message. I just would prefer that the message take a back seat to the fun.
Right, and this is what's so fascinating is that, and again, there's nothing wrong with the idea of feminism as long as it's not excessive and forceful, and it's not willing to listen to other point of views. But here you go, you have a strong, independent female character who was fantastic for her role, but she doesn't share my opinion, hence she has to be fired.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, they're making her out to be a Nazi, right? And all she did was, maybe push things towards Godwin's Law a little bit, which people do on every side of the debate and have forever. Have since 1945. Where it's like she compared her enemies to Nazis. Okay.
I mean, I'm going to play a little bit of the bad guy here to some degree because I'm oriented thinking of a business or a company. Now, I'm sure there was some sort of deal. There was something in the contract that said, listen, you can't cause any sort of mess that will make the Disney Corporation look bad, right?
Oh, sure, maybe. It's like they don't even need that, right? It's more like the mob came for her, right? Where there was this outcry in the Twitterati. Right? In those privileged enough to have a blue check mark on Twitter, right. that they made their voices 10 times louder than they would be otherwise. and then the corporation just bowed to their whims.
Yeah, it's very interesting too, because I mean, there's a lot going on at Disney. You have a new CEO there. Has only been there maybe about 3 months, and he's leaning more towards Favreau's ideas. And you have all this stuff brewing, and Kathleen Kennedy actually could be on the way out. So there is a war right now in Lucasfilms, and this is obviously a blow to Favreau, who apparently begged Disney to keep her on after the initial
Yeah,
tweets.
because it's like, hey, this is one of the characters that I've been building my stories around, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I have plans for the story that are going to be thrown in flux now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's the one who did the first Iron Man, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's a great director. He makes fun movies that everybody enjoyed, regardless of,
So we
of their
need fun
political
right
views.
now, okay?
Yeah, we do.
Yep. All right. So moving on.
Yeah.
All I wanted to say is that I'm sad now that she's working for the Daily Wire because now there are two Hollywoods.
Yeah, and that's something you mentioned before. That is true. It is sad.
So I've reached the end.
Right.
I have Epictetus here.
Do you want to do the other stuff
Oh, we
first?
do have predictions to do. If we have time, we should try and get through a few.
Yeah, which one? Yeah, I don't know which one you want to do first.
What I'm going to do is allow the gavel to review these. So can you see these okay, Gavel?
Yeah.
All right. So will Biden's policy be substantially different from Trump's on COVID? The cabinet said no, but it will be rebranded. And the chair said, yes, it will be substantively different, but it will have no teeth.
I'm going with the chair.
The chair is right. Okay. So,
It's in a new box. Look, a new box. Nothing in the box.
Will there be
will there be colors?
colors?
I think we're both wrong.
Oh, the color.
So I'll put the
color
X's next
chart.
to the wrong ones.
The color chart that you were describing.
I have not seen colored warning levels,
I was really hoping for the clock.
nor a doomsday clock.
Maybe a COVID clock.
We both lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far we're wrong on that. Okay.
Well,
Will the U.S. and the U.K. reach a trade deal in 2021?
Too
Never.
late. Yeah. Well, hold on. We have time. We have time. So would you like to join in the prediction, because we have until 2022 to be proven
Well,
right or wrong
let's
on that.
see. Let me think about this. U.S. I say no.
Okay.
All right.
I say
All right.
no.
So the gavel says no.
So when that question was originally presented, we were thinking, if there's another Trump presidency, we were wondering if actually it was going to occur before he was out. But clearly,
Well, Boris Johnson, I mean, he's got to seek a deal, but the problem is the health. Here is actually.
Yeah, the healthcare thing.
Now I'm going to start to change my vote.
What do you think, Tom?
If Biden institutes nationalized health care, then we'll be able to reach a trade deal with England.
Yes.
Because that was the sticking point for them, was that anyway. How do you think Trump's pushing of European governments to begin paying their fair share into NATO or the EU will affect U.S.-European relations going forward? Has Trump... Man, this is a question that is so hedged. Has Trump shot us in the foot, or has he exempted us from an ever-increasing larger bill for foreign commitments? This was a question about what has happened.
Basically,
I don't know. I don't know, because to be honest, I have my reservations about Trump and his policies.
Right.
So, not sure.
Yeah. Also not sure, and I'm not sure we're ever going to be sure because we didn't put a timeline on that one.
No.
What's your measure? It's a bad question. All right.
Clearly does not like.
It's a good topic. It's a bad question.
Yeah, it is. It is a good topic.
Second or Fourth Amendment will be further infringed by United States or Pennsylvania law by 2022. We don't know yet, right?
Further infringed. I don't know.
We don't know yet. That's him going after all sorts of firearm stuff. It's going to get interesting.
So this privacy or firearms will be further curtailed somehow, either by Pennsylvania. So yes.
Yes.
All right. If shutdown orders start to roll in from a variety of states, can we expect to see Supreme Court get more involved in decision making? Will the court be viewed as more political?
Yeah, I think so.
Gavel.
Definitely more political. I would say so.
Yes, and the court will seem more political.
Mm-hmm.
This will be fun to
Normalize.
review next. I think we should review these on New Year's.
Okay.
All right.
Well, because I framed a lot of them for 2021, right?
Right.
Will Israel and Saudi Arabia normalize relations in 2021?
Normalize.
So Israel has normalized relations with the United Arab Emirates, but not with Saudi Arabia. They're also growing close to Turkey on some things,
Okay.
but they don't want to piss off not Crete, Cyprus. They don't want to piss off Cyprus, but there's some water disputes there. I mean, there's also the Palestinian thing, which is like forever.
Depends on how the King Solomon. Okay.
You can stay out of this one if you're just like I have no idea what's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, you would have to be. We'd have to.
I'm going to say no for the simple fact that Israel and Saudi Arabia
They've too much bad blood.
Yeah, that's what it is. Too much bad blood with them.
They're not going to be able to resolve it. All right.
I really don't think so. No.
Will drilling in Anwar proceed in 2021? We both said no.
Will drilling in Anwar? What?
Alaska.
Oil drilling.
Proceed. Oh, yes. I say yes.
You say yes.
I say yes.
I hope you're right.
Now Biden has that was something that Trump wanted to have happen. Biden shut it down, but I mean he has 4 years to quietly start that process if he wants to. But
I think because the greenhouse gas or whatever energy right now, like it's too difficult to acquire. So I think.
So you're saying it makes sense to drill in Alaska. You would drill in Alaska. I'm asking if Biden's going to drill in Alaska.
I don't know if Biden would, but.
But you say yes. I hope you're right. I hope we can come back to this and find out you're right.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to yes.
All right. Will Macron lose power in the next election? We both said yes, and Le Pen will be the rising player.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay. It's French politics.
Macron is the leader of France. He's getting a lot of pressure right now from a lot of different angles.
I can't answer that one because I got to look up this guy now.
Fair enough.
You got to be. You'd have to be here when we went over this stuff. So
and even so, like it was super complicated. Like we don't know. We're Americans trying to guess what's going on inside France.
Right. Trump and Biden right now. Okay?
Do you believe that as time goes on, with Trump on the way out of office, we will hear more allegations of Chinese interference, such as this and worse in 2021? Oh, by the way. This was the Chinese cracked into the Pentagon completely. And then will the majority of media sources cover it? I'm saying yes, and no, the media sources will not cover it.
Hey,
I think
the chair says yes, and it will be covered.
But you got to give me this one. You said you did because what was it? Like a week later, Russia. Now, mind you, it wasn't China, but the Russians got in. Remember, and it was all over the news. Have you forgotten?
Right. That's what I'm. That was when. So that was a follow up of the same story.
Well, no, this happened. And I think
this was
later.
I think this was the story of the Russians getting it.
No.
Okay.
It wasn't because we were saying the Chinese because there was the hack with Swalwell, how he was.
Oh, okay. And then we found out that our entire Pentagon was compromised, right?
Right. So Gavel, there's Swalwell. I don't know if you watch anything. He's a Democrat from California. Apparently, had a relationship with a Chinese spy that he refuses to admit to, and it was confirmed that she indeed was part of the Chinese intelligence apparatus.
Really?
Yeah, and then apparently she planted a secretary inside his group who also was a Chinese intelligence spy.
Huh.
And anyway, we're like, oh, is this going to lead to are more things going to come out? And a week and a half later, the Russians apparently hacked everything.
Right. Now the question was worded Chinese interference.
That's true.
Will they interfere?
Well, will there be more evidence of basically our institutions being compromised by foreign governments? I guess is the way the question is being framed now. And if so, will the media actually cover it?
The media will cover it.
So you're deferring.
I don't know about the allegations of Chinese interference. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay.
Will the
But I
Chinese
feel like-
hack our stuff?
But B, if it happens, the media will cover it, and it will be very publicly covered.
Yeah, it will be. But I feel
but
like
you see, I'm already winning with my no vote on the media. Have you heard anything about that massive breach at the Pentagon since the day it happened?
Oh,
Even though it's
since-
probably the worst intelligence failure in U.S. history in the last
not
100 years.
since. In the first 3 days, it was all over the first 3 days, and then it disappeared.
That is a centennial intelligence failure.
So what's interesting is that they covered it, and then it went away. It was one news
Yeah,
cycle,
so that's what I'm saying. They swept it under the rug.
but it was still covered.
That's not covering it.
But it was still covered.
Oh.
yeah, it was.
Oh, so like if there's one tweet, if there's
Right.
one little snippet in Reuters, then it's covered.
No, every major news source had an article for one news cycle, which is what is one news cycle? 3 days, essentially.
Yeah, sure.
About 3 days.
About 3 days.
And then it disappeared. So I'll give you. I'll say you're half right if you say I'm half right.
Fine. All right, whatever. This is
Do we have a
hedgy
gavel?
question.
There we go.
All right, it's confirmed.
Will NVIDIA back down, or will they double down on this sort of behavior in 2021? The
Who the
chair
hell is
said
that?
that they will double down, and maybe others will follow their practice. I said that they will make some conciliatory noises, but continue this practice, and others will follow suit. So
I
far,
say I don't care.
all right, fair enough. I have been right. Because NVIDIA did in fact make some conciliatory noises to Hardware Unboxed after they
did.
behaved like a mob towards them.
Okay, I like this question.
Will the Dems do away with the Electoral College or pack the Supreme Court? The chair says no, they will not do away with the Electoral College. Yes, they will pack the Supreme Court. The cabinet says they will manage to do neither of these things.
I think they will keep the Electoral College.
Okay.
And they will not pack the Supreme Court.
So
right.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, so we've reached the end of our predictions, and we can start adding to the list next week now that we've actually been through them together. I'm going to read the Ensuridian quote, and we're going to be done for the week, I think.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. We're up to number 9. So, yeah. Sickness is an impediment to the body, but not to the will, unless. Oh no, we did this one. We did this one last week. You
that's right.
You were
I wasn't
here. Yep.
I wasn't
okay.
here.
So we're up to number 10. Upon every accident, remember to turn toward yourself and inquire what faculty you have for its use. If you encounter a handsome person, you will find continence the faculty needed. If pain, then fortitude. If reviling, then patience. And when thus habituated, the phenomena of existence will not overwhelm you.
All right. Meeting has been adjourned.
All right.